And let's not even start with how your favorite actress may have been playing to the cameras, smiling into your faces, using her co-stars for clout and attention, rage baiting her own fan base, because that alone could be its own documentary. What has people frozen, staring at their screens right now is this. Cynthia Erivo's girlfriend is, allegedly, done staying quiet. And according to the online chatter, she is calling Ariana Grande out in a way that has even hardened industry watchers stunned. The accusation is bold. The implication is calculated. The claim being circulated is that Ariana used Cynthia during the Wicked promo run, built an entire emotional storyline around their connection, then stepped back the moment it stopped serving her. And in the version of events people are now debating, this isn't being whispered. It's being spelled out. Think back to that Wicked promo season. Ariana and Cynthia were everywhere together. Interviews, red carpets, backstage moments, press junkets, panel discussions, photo calls. They weren't just standing side by side. They were intertwined, holding hands, leaning on each other's shoulders, wiping tears mid-sentence, locking eyes in ways that felt more like a private moment than a promotional one. They spoke about soul connections, about forever friendship, about matching tattoos, about holding space for each other in ways that landed as deeply personal, even spiritual. Fans replayed those clips on an endless loop because the energy felt intense. Some viewers started asking if what they were watching was standard co-star chemistry, or something more layered, unfolding in real time. Soon, the closeness itself became part of the Wicked narrative. It stopped being just about the film. It became about them. The interviews felt intimate. The body language was unmistakable. The way they looked at each other had fans dissecting every frame, pausing, zooming, analyzing. Social media flooded with edits and fan cams, side-by-side compilations, breathless threads, and long emotional captions. People spliced in lyrics from Defying Gravity, talking about holding space, about feeling seen, about queer readings of the characters and the connection between the actresses. One interviewer even mentioned, "This week people are taking the lyrics of Defying Gravity and really holding space with that, and feeling power in that." Cynthia and Ariana smiled, nodded, looked at each other. It felt powerful to many watching. Clips from those moments were shared across queer media, fan accounts, and film circles. It kept Wicked trending and kept both women at the center of the cultural conversation. And then, silence. No more emotional shout-outs. No forever friend captions. No red carpet hand-holding. No visible reassurance that the connection was still there. Just distance. That was the moment the blind items started creeping in. Anonymous gossip posts, so-called blind items that never name names but invite speculation, began hinting that Ariana had quietly pulled back from Cynthia once filming and major promotion wrapped. Some of these posts suggested Ariana was separating herself behind the scenes. Others went further, implying she may have shifted blame for certain tensions onto Cynthia. That's when the story, at least in the online narrative, moved from awkward to serious. Because now it wasn't just about a friendship fading. It was about intent. According to some of the commentary circulating online, Lena Waithe, Cynthia's long-term partner, is reportedly not framing this as a simple falling out. In that narrative, she's positioning it as something bigger, something more calculated. The allegation being discussed is this. Those ultra-touchy, emotionally charged press tour moments were not just natural, unfiltered intimacy. They were amplified on purpose, to dominate headlines, generate edits, and keep fans deeply invested. That is a serious charge. Because if true, it suggests strategy, not spontaneity. And what really turned people's heads was the timing being pointed out by fans. Once the promo dust settled, Ariana appeared publicly affectionate again with Ethan Slater. Photos, appearances, press coverage suddenly shifted. To some observers, it looked like the Wicked-era bond was edited out of the story in real time. Like Cynthia had become part of a chapter that closed quietly once the cameras stopped rolling. If that perception sticks, it changes how people remember that entire campaign. Now the questions are sharper. Was the connection authentic but short-lived? Or was it heightened for visibility, then allowed to wither off screen? Either way, the situation is evolving quickly. If more concrete information ever surfaces on either side, it could reshape how that wicked promo run is remembered. Because now the narrative has shifted. It's no longer just about the wicked era is over. It's about Lena allegedly stepping into the frame, making it clear that in her view, Cynthia W. hasn't just hurt. She was used. And from the way online accounts interpret her posts and likes, she does not sound neutral. She sounds offended on Cynthia's behalf. The shade aimed at Ariana in the way fans are reading it is hard to miss. According to this interpretation of Lena's point of view, Ariana didn't just build a friendship. She allegedly built a strategy. The claim is that Ariana used Cynthia as a kind of public prop during filming and especially throughout the massive promotional run. Every tearful moment, every on-camera hand squeeze, every trembling voice in an interview may not have been as spontaneous as it looked. In this version, Ariana was positioning herself very carefully for awards season, doing whatever it took to secure praise, sympathy, headlines, and momentum. If that meant leaning heavily into the narrative of an intense, borderline soulmate bond with Cynthia, then so be it. And then comes the harshest piece of the accusation. Once that goal was achieved, once the most intense phase of promotion was over and the cameras slowed down, Cynthia was allegedly dropped. The phrase that keeps echoing online is that she was dropped like a hot potato. It's a brutal image, and it paints the situation in an unflattering, almost transactional light. Of course, not everyone buys this version of events. Some critics of Lena's apparent stance argue that she might simply be jealous of how visibly close Ariana and Cynthia became while working together. They point out that sometimes intense work bonds cool naturally once the shared project ends. But fans pushing the other side of the narrative note something they find hard to ignore. During the promo tour, Ariana and Cynthia were inseparable. They cried in interviews. They promised forever friendship. They said they had been changed for good. They swore they would always protect that bond. It felt deep. It felt permanent. It felt branded as unbreakable. So now the obvious question, where is that energy? Since the promotional whirlwind wrapped, there have been no public bestie moments, no visible continuation of that intense emotional closeness, only distance. And when that silence is placed next to the rumors and interpretations of Lena's behavior, some people say it looks suspicious. Those who side with Lena's alleged view say it starts to feel less like a natural drift and more like a strategic exit. Then the discourse took a much darker turn. Fans began pointing out that both Ariana and Cynthia seemed noticeably thinner during the Wicked era. Social media filled with side-by-side comparisons from different years. While some comments were undeniably cruel, there was also a large chorus of people who genuinely sounded worried, especially about Ariana. The tone, at least from many supporters, was less mockery and more concern. Shortly after, headlines and gossip posts began to circulate claiming that Ariana had allegedly distanced herself from Cynthia, because Cynthia was somehow being blamed for Ariana developing an eating disorder or disordered eating patterns. That storyline spread fast. It didn't stay confined to Stan spaces. It bled into pop culture commentary and blind item forums. Anonymous posts began echoing the same theme, each one adding fuel to an already sensitive situation. One blind item that gained traction read something like, "This A-list actress-singer is now blaming her foreign-born co-star for her disorder, and now that they're no longer together constantly, things are getting better." People immediately started guessing who that could be referring to. The timing and details led many to assume it was about Ariana and Cynthia, though, crucially, there was no confirmation. More blind items followed. Another unnamed item hinted that an A-list actress and her A-list co-star were no longer on speaking terms, and that awards season could become uncomfortable. Suddenly, what once had looked like an inseparable duo was now being painted, by rumor, as complete silence behind the scenes. From a distance, it started to look, at least to some observers, like Ariana was separating herself in a very specific way, publicly soft, privately absent. To complicate this further, Ariana has long cultivated a public image of being soft-spoken, emotional, and fragile, someone who is easily overwhelmed and deeply affected by what happens around her. That persona makes it easier for some fans to believe that she could have been pulled into a dynamic that wasn't healthy for her. Meanwhile, Cynthia has sometimes been portrayed online as intense, protective, and very direct during interviews. In certain corners of the internet, often unfairly, this has led to her being framed as controlling or too much. That contrast began shaping how people interpreted the rumors. Another piece people noticed. In more recent appearances, fans have commented that Ariana looks healthier, that she seems to have gained a bit of weight back. Supporters see that as a positive sign. But critics argue that, even unintentionally, that visual shift reinforces the narrative that, once she stepped away, she healed, which, if believed, places blame squarely at Cynthia's feet without anyone ever having to say it outright. This is where we need a clear reminder. Blind items are anonymous. They are not evidence. None of these claims have been confirmed by the people involved. Perception, however, can be powerful. And right now, in certain online spaces, the perception is that Ariana quietly allowed a story to form in which Cynthia absorbs the blame, while Ariana steps back into a more sympathetic light. If that were intentional, it would be ruthless image control. If it's not, it might simply be a storm of speculation spinning out of control. Either way, the conversation has moved beyond a simple "did they stop being friends?" narrative. It has slipped into a much heavier territory, touching on mental health, manipulation, and responsibility. And people are watching closely. According to those reading Lena Waithe's behavior as a response, she is not backing down. In that interpretation, she's pushing back against what she believes were calculated moves behind the scenes. And crucially, she's suggesting the audience may have been played as well. The claim being tossed around is that many of those emotional, touchy, ultra-close moments on the Wicked press tour were not as organic as they looked. From Lena's alleged perspective, the energy was dialed up deliberately to spark discourse, dominate social media, and pull fans deeper into the story of Ariana and Cynthia as a unit. And if that's even partially true, it would mean far more strategy went into that press run than anyone realized at the time. Because let's be honest, from the very first big interviews, the physical closeness stood out. Even in a business where co-stars often act like instant best friends, this felt heightened. They were constantly holding hands, leaning into each other's bodies, whispering off mic, wiping away each other's tears. The body language was intense. Some fans saw it as two women genuinely bonding during a powerful, once-in-a-career experience. Others felt like each appearance had to top the last, emotionally and physically. More tears, more touch, more heart-on-sleeve declarations. At some point, it stopped feeling like simple promotion and started feeling like a serialized emotional arc. Like we weren't just following the story of Elphaba and Glinda, but the story of Ariana and Cynthia. Then there was the viral Holding Space interview. That single clip launched endless edits, fan art, and essays. It became the defining visual of the Wicked campaign. The two of them, crying, holding hands, talking about seeing each other, protecting each other, holding space for each other. After that moment, the emotional tone only intensified. Fans joked that Ariana and Cynthia were turning every interview into a personal therapy session. Meanwhile, there were several instances where Cynthia appeared especially protective of Ariana in public, stepping in when questions got uncomfortable, physically grounding her, taking control of the conversation. Supporters saw that as genuine love and care. Critics pointed to it as evidence of an unusually intense dynamic for a professional partnership. The same footage was being watched by millions of people. They just didn't all see the same thing. According to how Lena's alleged perspective is now being framed online, all that attention may have been the point. The more fans became emotionally invested in their bond, the more the film, and its awards prospects, stayed in the center of pop culture. Even people close to the situation, it said, were watching that closeness with raised eyebrows. Photos of Ariana, Cynthia, and Lena together became their own sub-narrative. Who stood where? Who leaned toward whom? Who looked left out? Every picture, every micro-expression, every caption got analyzed. Whether the connection was perfectly genuine, exaggerated, or simply misread, one thing is clear. The Wicked press tour generated a level of attention around their relationship that far exceeded a typical co-star pairing. And now that the distance is so visible, those old clips are being rewatched in a completely different light. From Lena's side, at least as fans are interpreting her posts, she was never just some silent background figure. She is Cynthia's actual long-term partner. During the height of the promo, she might not have looked like a third wheel in public, but afterward she made it pretty clear that she was uncomfortable with how intense some of those moments appeared. At one point, Lena reportedly shared a clip from an interview and captioned it in a way that suggested watching Ariana and Cynthia on the press run had been unbearable for her. That alone had fans doing double takes. In another post, she shared a message about maturity in relationships, about catching. Your mind when it starts inventing false stories about your partner. People immediately started reading between the lines, wondering if that was a comment on how she processed, or tried to process, what she saw unfolding on cameras in front of the world. But the intimacy didn't stop at interviews and touching. Ariana and Cynthia also got matching tattoos. Yes, matching tattoos. Ariana even wrote a publicly shared message that sounded like a love letter, if not romantic, then certainly intense. My Cynthia, I will never forget a second of this time with you. Perhaps the hardest laughs and cries of my life. Yes, you are undoubtedly the fiercest talent to grace the earth, but you are unimaginably an even fiercer friend. I'm so thankful for the incredible privilege that it is knowing and loving you. On its own, two friends getting matching tattoos isn't unheard of, but for longtime Ariana followers, the pattern is hard to ignore. When she was with Pete Davidson, matching tattoos were practically a relationship language. Clouds, numbers, words, symbols, they marked milestones and feelings in ink. When the romance ended, the tattoos themselves became part of the narrative. So when Ariana and Cynthia unveiled matching tattoos in the middle of a promo run already overloaded with intense emotion, fans didn't just shrug, they took notice. Social media lit up with speculation. Some theories got out of hand, others were more restrained, simply pointing to the pattern. High-intensity emotional bond. Public declarations. Matching ink. Then eventually a clean break. Cynthia being in a long-term relationship with Lena didn't stop the rumor mill. For some people, it made the situation feel even more charged. For others, it reinforced the idea that this was just friendship taken to a very dramatic level. Now, with visible distance and alleged commentary from Lena, those old moments are being re-evaluated. The tattoos, the captions, the tear-filled interviews, the way they looked at each other. All of it plays differently when layered with the suggestion that someone, maybe multiple people, felt used. Ariana's romantic history only adds more layers to how people interpret this. She has been married once before, in a relationship that lasted around 2 years. Before that, her whirlwind engagement to Pete Davidson dominated the news cycle, fast, intense, and very public. It began and ended at a speed that left a mark on pop culture. Because of those patterns, fans and critics alike examine every new bond she forms through a hypercritical lens. Every hug, every gaze, every tattoo. According to some insiders and interview quotes, Cynthia may have experienced the connection with Ariana as deeply genuine and meaningful. In an interview with Elle magazine, Cynthia described their first meeting in very emotional terms. I've gained a sister at this point. We speak almost every day. Both of us were blown away by how connected we were immediately. I remember the first day we got to come together. It was at director John M. Chu's house, and he played some songs for us and we sang together for the first time. She continued, "It's a very intimate thing to sing with someone. It was one of the most gratifying things to know that there was someone who was that open and available because she was, and that meant I could be as well." That description sounds heartfelt. Whether romantic or platonic, it reads like someone who felt seen, held, and creatively understood. Fans quickly noticed that the way Cynthia spoke about Ariana, the immediate connection, the daily communication, the sense of having gained a sister, echoed the way Ariana has spoken about some of her past close relationships. That parallel fed more speculation. Online debates intensified. Some people begged Lena outright in comment sections to protect her relationship and set firmer boundaries. Others insisted that what they were witnessing was simply an example of deep, queer-coded mutual support between women in the industry. Ariana, for her part, did try to explain some of the physical closeness during interviews. She said, "I channel a lot of energy through my hands. I'm always holding a hand. I'm always squeezing something. I'm always reaching for something. It's often who I'm with. I like to channel support energy or whatever." To many, that sounded like a sincere attempt to frame the touching as a form of emotional grounding, not necessarily a sign of romantic undertones. It did not, however, stop the speculation. At one point, people began throwing around complex labels and psychological terms to describe the dynamic, words that left many viewers more confused than enlightened. Some felt that the heavy terminology only added fog, rather than clarity. It started to feel like everything was being overnamed except the simplest question. What actually was this relationship? If Lena's alleged accusations are accurate, then the emotional intensity may have served a publicity purpose. If they're not, this may just be a case of a genuine, creative bond amplified by fans and the internet's tendency to romanticize everything. But either way, the shift is undeniable. After the Wicked promo era, Ariana appeared publicly affectionate again with Ethan Slater. Hand-holding, smiles, new chapters. That abrupt transition made some fans question whether the Wicked bond had been overstated, or at least overdisplayed. Was it always meant to be temporary? Right now, people are left to argue over three competing reads. It was authentic and complicated. It was authentic but exaggerated. Or it was, from the start, partially crafted for impact. The line between professional closeness, emotional intensity, and public perception has blurred beyond easy distinction. And that is why this story refuses to fade. And just like that, it almost feels as if the whole Cynthia Erivo chapter vanished overnight. One minute it was soulmate-style interviews, matching tattoos, emotional speeches, forever-coded language. The next minute, silence. No visible public support. No, we're still here reassurance. No more evidence of that fierce, unbreakable bond that once seemed to anchor every headline. It's not hard to see why. In this telling, Lena appears upset. From her viewpoint, as many fans are framing it, it looks like Cynthia was part of a rollout, a campaign, a storyline. The hand-holding, the tears on camera, the viral holding space interview, the deep declarations of love and sisterhood. All of it helped build a narrative fans invested in intensely. And when the campaign ended, that narrative seems to have been filed away just as quickly. There are even whispers that Ariana and Cynthia are no longer speaking at all. Whether that's true or not, the perception of total distance is spreading. At the same time, coverage is shifting. New headlines, new relationships, new projects. Ariana appears to be walking cleanly into a different chapter, as if the Wicked emotional storm was just weather. That pivot is what has people raising eyebrows. According to how Lena's alleged stance is being interpreted, the closeness wasn't organic. It was strategic. A powerful award season storyline that did its job. Once the buzz was locked in and the emotional investment secured, the bond, at least publicly, became expendable. If that's true, then we're not just talking about a friendship that cooled. We're talking about an entire dynamic that functioned, at least in part, as branding. Of course, not everyone agrees. Many still believe it was a genuine connection that simply diluted once the shared pressure and adrenaline faded. Others think the public read too much into what was always meant to be co-star solidarity. What can't be denied is how fast the "we'll be in each other's lives forever" energy disappeared. The contrast between the on-camera promises and the off-camera silence is stark. So now the real questions begin. Did something serious happen behind the scenes that we'll never know about? Was there pressure from teams, studios, or personal relationships to create distance? Or was the connection always meant to be fleeting, just heightened by the glare of the spotlight and the hopes of fans? What do you think? Was the Wicked bond authentic and complicated, two artists navigating an intense shared experience? Or was it carefully amplified for headlines, Engagement and awards season momentum. Do you believe Lena is signaling something real and troubling? Or is this a case of emotions running high, narratives colliding, and the internet doing what it always does, reading meaning into silence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share if you want more long-form, deep dives into the stories behind the headlines. And we'll pick this back up in the next one.